I'm Grady Powers, and I'm Grady on the charts. Hey, check this out. My name is Grady Powers. I'm Grady on the charts, and hey, we have a very important subject that I want to talk to you guys about. And excuse me, and it's very hard for me to talk about this subject because it's extremely personal. And for traders, their trading performance is extremely personal. It really touches the heart of what they do day to day on the chart. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. Please support this channel. And I would like to thank you. I'd like to thank you for doing that. So we all like to be profitable. We all like green trades. We all like to make that money. Okay. A thrill of being profitable is undeniable. Yep. But what if I told you for some, a hidden, almost subconscious attachment to losing is sneaking into their hard work? 3, 7, 2, 1. But what if I told you for some, a hidden, almost unconscious attachment to losing? What if I told you for some, an unconscious, hidden attachment to losing was quietly undermining your hard work? What if I told you that what if I told you that quietly a hidden subconscious attachment to losing was undermining your hard work? What if I told you that the quiet, hidden, subconscious attachment to losing was undermining your hard work? It sounds counterintuitive, but stick with me. Number 1, addiction to losing. We touched on this before, but let's really unpack this, right? We touched on this before, but let's really unpack this. For some individuals, particularly those who have experienced unresolved emotional pain, the act of losing in a way, the act of losing is a way, the act of lose. For some of us who've experienced unresolved emotional pain, the very act of losing can become, in a way, sort of a act of losing can become a way to reenact those feelings. Did you know that the act of losing can become a way to reenact those feelings? Did you know that the act of losing can become an unconscious? Did you know that the act of losing can unconsciously become a way to reenact those feelings? Nope, not a question. No, it's not a question. For some individuals, particularly those who have unresolved emotional pain, that the act of losing itself can become a way to unconsciously reenact those feelings. It's not about the money. It's about the familiarity. It's about the familiarity. It's about the familiarity of the negative emotions. Winning, while it's the desired outcome. It's the desired outcome. Winning, the desired outcome. That's why on the surface, winning as the desired outcome can just be can really just be a disruption to the That's why on the surface, winning, while really the desired outcome on the surface, can be a disruption to the ingrained pattern. That's why on the surface, hard work beats talent. Hard work beats the talent. Let's go. Hard work beats the talent. That's why on the surface, winning could be the desired outcome, but it becomes a disruption to the deeply ingrained pattern. Number 2, the emotional void and the temporary fix. The emotional void and the temporary fix. Think about those feelings of emptiness and loss, or even not being good enough. Those can be powerful drivers. 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 A winning trade can offer a temporary high. A winning trade can offer a temporary high. A winning trade can offer a temporary high. A brief escape from those underlying feelings. A winning trade can offer a temporary high and a brief escape from those temporary feelings. A winning trade can offer a temporary high and a brief escape from those underlying feelings. So a winning trade can offer a temporary high and a brief escape from those underlying feelings. A winning trade can offer a temporary high. A winning trade can offer a temporary high and a brief escape from those underlying feelings. But like any temporary fix, it doesn't address the root cause. So what happens? So like any temporary fix, it doesn't address the root cause. So what happens? What happens is the cycle repeats. What happens is that cycle repeats. What happens is that cycle repeats. That cycle repeats, often leading back to losses and reinforces those negative emotions. Often that cycle repeats, leading back to losses and those negative emotions. No. And it reinforces. But the cycle repeats. But that cycle repeats. But what happens then? Okay. But what happens then? So what happens? The cycle repeats. So what happens then? The cycle repeats, often leading back to those, often leading back to losses, then the cycle repeats, often leading back to losses and reinforcing those negative emotions. But then, so what happens? The cycle repeats, often leading back to losses and back to reinforcing those negative emotions. So the cycle repeats. So what happens? 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 The cycle repeats. So what happens? The cycle repeats, leading back to losses and reading back to losses, and it reinforces. Reading those two things are together. Those two things are together, leading back to losses and reinforcing the negative emotions. They're not separate. The reinforced negative emotions and the losses are not separate. So the cycle repeats, leading back to losses and reinforcing the negative emotions. Leading back to losses and reinforcing those negative emotions. Leading back to losses and reinforcing those negative emotions. Leading back to losses and reinforcing those negative emotions. Leading back to losses and reinforcing those negative emotions. Leading back to losses and reinforcing those negative emotions. Leading back to losses and reinforcing 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 negative emotions. Number three. Inner critic. Should have did this live. Should have did this live. I've done this whole thing live. Golly. Let's keep going. Number three. The vicious cycle of the inner critic. The vicious cycle of the inner critic. The vicious circle of the inner critic. The inner critic traitor. The vicious circle of the inner critic. The inner critic traitor. That inner critic we all have to some extent. Losses can fuel and put gasoline on the fire. Each failed trade becomes proof of our inadequacy, reinforcing negative self-beliefs. And this creates a vicious cycle. The vicious cycle has losses. Okay. And number three, the inner critic traitor. We all have this inner critic. We all have this inner critic to some extent. Losses be fueled by gasoline. We all have this inner critic to some extent, and our losses can be fueled like adding gasoline to a fire. Okay. Each failed trade. And this is true. I've experienced this myself. This is absolutely true for me as a trader. This is absolutely true. We all have an inner critic. And some people say some people declare like it's a great thing. I'm my biggest critic. And that's bad for a trader because we all have the inner critic. And for each of us, our trades become proof of our inadequacy, reinforcing negative self-beliefs. And then it creates a vicious cycle. Loss, self-criticism, or self-reproach, and the subconscious expectations of failure, and ultimately more losing. Each trade becomes proof of our inadequacy, reinforcing negative self-beliefs. Each failed trade becomes proof of our inadequacy. Each failed trade becomes proof of our inadequacy and reinforcing those negative self-beliefs. The vicious cycle then begins to continue with loss, self-criticism, self-reproach, a subconscious expectation of failure, and ultimately more losing. This vicious cycle then continues as losses, self-reproach, a subconscious expectation of failure, and ultimately more losing, and ultimately more losing. And it becomes a form of self-punishment playing out in our trading account. So then we punish ourselves for losing by losing. So then we subconsciously decide to punish ourselves for losing by losing. So we decide to subconsciously punish ourselves by losing. So we subconsciously punish ourselves for losing. So we subconsciously punish ourselves for losing by losing. Okay. Segment four. So let's say, how does this play out in our day trading? All right. So we've got to bring this back to the trading world. Have you ever found yourself revenge trading after a bad loss, trying to make it back immediately, even if it goes against your strategy? Have you ever found yourself abandoning your strategy after losing trade to make the money right back, to remove a small amount of drawdown that you just accrued, to fix a little bump in your trading day? Have you ever, or maybe you've exited a trade too early, or maybe you've exited a trade too early, afraid that you were going to lose your gains. And then after that, you saw the market continue in that same direction that you were in for the rest of the day. But these actions seem to be driven by a desire to win, right? I'm going to lock in these profits. I'm going to now these actions seem to be rooted and fueled by a desire to win. However, they're actually rooted in those deeper emotional patterns that we've been discussing. Now, these actions seem to be driven. These actions seem to be driven by a desire to win. These actions seem to be driven by a very strong desire to win. But they're actually rooted in those strong negative emotions that we discussed earlier. The comfort of the familiar feeling of loss. The comfort of the familiar feeling of loss can subconsciously sabotage your potential for your persistent profits. The comfort of the familiar feeling of loss can subconsciously sabotage your potential for consistent profits. The comfort of the familiar feeling of loss can subconsciously sabotage your potential for consistent profits. The comfort of the familiar feeling of loss can subconsciously sabotage your potential for consistent profits. The comfort of the familiar feeling of loss can subconsciously sabotage your trading profits. The comfort of the familiar feeling of loss can subconsciously sabotage your consistent profits. Subconsciously sabotage your potential, and subconsciously sabotage your potential for consistent profits. Illusion. The illusion of control and the ego trap. Okay, the feeling of needing to be right all the time. Overconfidence we sometimes see. Feeling of needing to be right all the time. Unconfidence. I love that word, unconfidence. And it's coming out because it's probably Freudian. The feeling of needing to be right all the time. And the overconfidence we sometimes see. The feeling of needing to be right all the time. And the overconfidence we sometimes see. The feeling of needing to be right all the time. And the overconfidence we sometimes see. And this could be a mask for underlying insecurities. 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 Overconfidence and the need to be right all the time. This is a strange one. The illusion of control and the ego trap. And this is a strange one because it stems from the feeling of needing to be right all the time. And the overconfidence that sometimes comes with that, what we would call expertise, right? But sometimes that's a mask for underlying insecurities. In trading, this ego can lead to ignoring a stop loss. No. In trading, this could be ignoring stop loss orders, doubling down on a losing position, and a refusal to admit mistakes. In trading, this ego can lead to ignoring trading with a stop loss. To trade without a stop loss. In trading, this ego can lead to trading without a stop loss, not admitting your mistakes, and doubling down on losing trades or adding to losers. Now, I don't use this word infantile megalomania lightly, but that's what the the research suggests it's a belief in our own infallibility. It's a belief in our own infallibility. Now, this is very difficult. This is very difficult. This is a very difficult one to deal with. This is a very difficult one to deal with. And I think that this is difficult. This is rough. This is rough. This is rough. Okay. Okay. My trading psychology is kicking in while we're making this video. Because honestly, because right now I'm thinking of all of the times that I was nervous to take the trade and it was the right trade. So I'm thinking about all of the times that I didn't take the trades that I should have taken. And then I said to myself, I need to have more confidence. I need to trust that I'm right when I take the trade. And this says that the ego is telling me, okay, I see the difference. I see the difference in the saboteur. I see the difference that the self-saboteur. The self-saboteur will tell you that you're wrong when you're right and you're right when you're wrong. It'll tell you to take more risk, to add more risk. It'll tell you to bump up your leverage on this particular trade to make up for the losses because you're right this time, right? You're right this time. You weren't right all those times, but you're better than that. You're better than the mistakes that you made. So increase your leverage. Don't use your stop loss. Go all in because you're right this time with infantile megalomania. Number 6, breaking the cycle. Let's break the cycle. Okay. Let's break the cycle. Let's break the cycle. Let's break the cycle. Hey, break the cycle. The first step to breaking the cycle is awareness. And that's one of the reasons that I stopped trading live for a couple of days in order to focus on this. Now, subconsciously, we all would think this thing, especially as traders, because remember, we talked about as our losses being proof of our inadequacy. Well, what if I try to break the cycle and nothing changes? What if I try to break the cycle and nothing changes? Let's break the cycle. First step is awareness. And that's why you should like this video, you should subscribe, and share this video with your friends, especially your trading friends, so that they can see that they're not alone, number one, and that we can bring awareness to the cycle. That way we'll break it. Recognizing these emotional patterns within yourself is crucial. Recognizing these patterns within yourself is really crucial. It's really crucial. Recognizing these patterns within yourself is crucial. Recognizing these patterns is crucial, and recognizing these patterns in yourself is even more crucial. When we talk about this, I've showed examples of my journal and how in my journal there are gaps. But start by journaling your trades, not just the entries and exits, but also how you felt during, before, and after. Now, start by journaling your trades. Start by journaling your trades. Wow. Start by journaling your trades. Not just before. Not just the entries and exits, but start journaling how you feel before, during, and after each trade. You know what? Oh, this is rough. What if I miss the next trade? What if I'm journaling and missing the trade that I've been stalking all day? Because sometimes, start by journaling your trades, not just the entries and exits, but how you feel before, during, and after each trade. Well, what we're looking for and what you should be looking for are recurring emotional themes. The recurring emotional themes. Consider seeking resources on trading strategy, trading psychology, or even talking to a therapist who specializes in behavioral patterns. Or even talking to a therapist who specializes in behavioral patterns. Developing a robust trading plan and sticking to it, regardless of your emotional urges, is also vital. Regardless of emotional urges, is also vital. Developing a robust trading plan and sticking to it. Developing a robust trading plan and sticking to it, regardless of your emotional urges, is also vital. All right, friends. Hey, the journey to self-awareness in trading isn't always easy, but it's incredibly rewarding. And understanding these deeper emotional currents, you can take control of your decisions and build a more sustainable and profitable trading career. Don't underestimate the power of your mental game. Share this video if you found it insightful. And let's support each other in trading smarter, both technically and emotionally. The journey of self-awareness in trading isn't always easy, but it's incredibly rewarding. By understanding these deeper emotional currents, you can take control of your decisions and build a more sustainable and profitable trading career. trading career. Don't underestimate the power of your mental game. Don't underestimate the power of your mental game. When this video is found, share this video. Share this video. Share this video if you found it insightful, and let's support each other trading smarter, technically and emotionally. The journey to self-awareness in trading isn't always easy, but it's incredibly rewarding. By understanding these deeper emotional currents, you can take control of your decisions and build a more sustainable and profitable trading career. Don't underestimate the power of the mental game. Don't underestimate the power of the mental game. Share this video if you found it insightful, and let's support each other, not only technically, but emotionally in trading.